What's up, my friends? This is Tracy Allen, aka the Cremation Lady. And I know that image is probably kind of weird, but the truth of the matter is it actually happened. Not with that particular funeral home name. That's a made up one, an AI generated photo that I had designed for this particular topic. But there was a funeral home here in San Diego that actually went out of business. It had been here in San Diego for generations. And all of a sudden, poof, in this year, a couple of months ago, totally shut down. And so people that had plans were like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? It's a question that I get asked quite often. Well, how do I know that you're going to be around when it's time? The funny thing to me is that a lot of the people that ask me this question, they're in like their late 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I don't mean to poke fun, but I just find it interesting for people to think that within the next 10, 20 years, we're going to shut down. So let me share with you some things that you need to know about pre-planning. And when you're looking into companies, what is it that you should be looking for? One of the first things that you want to do is to make sure that whatever company you're looking into, that they are a trust-funded company. They're backed by a trust, a third-party handler of the money, so that something happens, they go out of business or whatever the case may be, they're not the ones holding all the money. So it should be backed by either a trust or an insurance. The contract that you sign should be a guaranteed contract. It should say in their guaranteed contract. That means it's a legally binding agreement that if something goes screwy, that the company is still going to make sure that everything is still taken care of. And so you want to check out the contracts and stuff as you're signing out there. Make sure that you're going over this information before you sign, while you're signing, whatever, but don't sign something that is not legally binding. You also want to make sure that you check on whatever kind of guarantees that they have. Some companies, they don't have any guarantees. And if that's the case, then you might want to stay away from that type of company. Our company, for example, we are a trust-backed company. The money for the cremation goes into a trust. And the only way that we're able to touch that money is to either provide a death certificate or a letter of cancellation. And that's another nice thing about our plans, is that it has a lifetime money back guarantee. I'm not saying this just to try to promote the company I work for, but what I'm saying is that if a company does not have any guarantees, then that could be a problem down the road. So you want to make sure that there's something put in place that even if the company did go out of business, you're entitled to your money back, or that everything will still be paid for even if they don't exist anymore. You want to work with a company that is financially sound. And when you're looking at mom and pop type funeral homes, and I'm not putting them all down, but just saying that they don't have the kind of funding that big companies do. So the company I work for, we're not out here by ourselves. We've got a parent company. So we are under the umbrella of a larger company that owns almost 100 properties all across the U.S. That gives people reassurance that their money is safe, and no matter what happens, they're going to be taken care of. When I'm working with people, I always give them a list of questions that they should ask while they're shopping. So oftentimes people are shopping different companies. And so usually in the email, I'll send them a list of questions. I'm pretty thorough when I give a presentation, but there may be something that I didn't address that's in those questions. And then they're able to ask me, and they're able to ask the other people or the other companies that they're interested in working with. That way they're able to do an apple-to-apple comparison. So check and make sure that you have your questions answered. And if you'd like to have a copy of the questions, mine are specifically for cremation. So if you're someone that wants traditional burial, I don't have all the questions you should ask for that. And I did work in that industry. My very first job in the pre-planning industry was a place here in San Diego that took care of both traditional burial as well as cremation. But I didn't stay with them long. It just wasn't my thing at the time. But it was a seed that was planted that helped me to understand the power of pre-planning. When I saw a family come in that didn't have a plan, and these people were in that room arguing about who was going to pay for stuff and who was going to take care of this and who's getting the money to do this. I mean, it was just a nightmare. I was like, wow. And I didn't know. I really didn't know that people fought like that when it came to death. And so then I remember there was a young lady that had lost her dad, and she was sitting there wiping the tears. And the counselor said to her, don't worry, your father took care of everything. So she didn't have to stress. It's so much more of a relief when you have this in place versus the chaos that ensues when you're trying to grieve and now figure out the logistics, and maybe you don't have a lot of money. Now you've got to figure all of that out at the same time. So that's the reason why people usually will put a plan in place, so that there's that much taken off of the plates of the people that we leave behind. So this video, I don't have a whole lot more to say on this. This is the last Sunday of 2025. And in 2026, I'm going to do things a little differently. I don't feel like many of you really watch the whole videos. You know, sometimes it's hard to really want to focus in on everything that I'm talking about, even though I try to keep it pretty entertaining and not just focus on pre-planning, death, you know, things that I try to share some interesting things along the way. And I just don't want you guys to be bored. So we're going to see about doing something a little different starting next week. But I wanted to get this one out there to you because, again, this is one of the top questions that I get. How do I know you're going to be around? Well, again, we are a financially sound company. We're not a mom and pop place. That particular funeral home that went out of business, it was started, I think, back in the 40s or 50s. And the owners of it ran it for years. And then they had children that came along, and those children took over. And then when they started getting too old, then they passed it on to their daughter. So the last parents that had it, they passed away, I think, like in the 90s and stuff. And so they had passed it on to their daughter. Well, the daughter, I think she was barely in her 30s. She got into a car accident and she died. I think this happened a couple years ago. So once she died, the people that took it over mismanaged the money. Everything was just a mess. So when you're looking at pre-planning and you're looking at a funeral home that is a small funeral home, local, you need to know that it's not just run by the people that are the family members. Like, what do they have in place when the people die off? With Smart Cremation, we're not a mom and pop. So as much as it hurts that we lost one of my coworkers recently, and I mean, he was like the top salesperson out here in California, but he passed away. We will still be moving forward. And it hurts, not just because he was a great salesperson, but he was a good man. And so he is missed. He's going to be missed. But that doesn't stop us from doing our job. That doesn't stop the top. That's not going to shut down Smart Cremation. We're going to continue forward. And even if something happens to our president of sales and our president of operations, if something happens to those guys, we still have people above us. We still have a company above us that is watching over everything. So it makes a difference as to who you choose when you're looking at long-term planning. And so I feel quite confident. You know, I'm hoping that I'll live another 30 years or so. My daughter, she's like, no, I need you to live until you're 100 or something. I'm like, girl, I don't know if I can hang with all of you folks another 40 years. Oh my God, no. This world is it's just too much. But I don't have a say over that. Whenever the Creator says it's time for me to go, it's just time for me to go. So anyway, you guys, I hope this helps somebody, especially if you're looking into pre-planning for cremation. You know your girl's here, California. I got you, but we're in other states as well. So if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. And I think that's about it. Have an excellent rest of 2025. Have an amazing 2026. And I'll see you around, but it'll just be a little bit different. It'll be quicker sound bites for you so you're not so bogged down with so much information. How about that? Thank you. Bless you. Much love. And I'll talk to you another time. Ciao.